Class of 2024, you're in for a treat this morning. There are a lot of very special guests, and I won't try to go down the list this morning to recognize all of those because I will surely forget them. But we appreciate our board members being here, our mayor, but most importantly, these two individuals that are seated in front of you. And this gentleman that's to just a little bit to my right, Dr. Jim Moody, who sits here, who will be interviewed by Ms. Peel, was very similar to you guys. In fact, that in 1964, he graduated from Mineola High School. And so he has some words to share with you this morning. Let me read a quick introduction for Dr. Moody and also Ms. Peel, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to them. Dr. Jim Moody was born and raised right here in Mineola. He graduated in 1964 from Mineola High School, where he played football and basketball and ran track for the Mineola Yellow Jackets. He was also voted most handsome his senior year. After high school, he attended Tyler Junior College for 2 years before transferring to the University of Texas in Austin on scholarship. There he majored in microbiology on the pre-med track and graduated with high honors in 1968. Next, he attended medical school on a 4-year scholarship at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston. He decided to become an ear, nose, and throat specialist and was chosen for a prestigious 1-year internship at the University of Kansas. While there, he decided neurosurgery would be a lot more exciting than ENT surgery. So he spent another year in Kansas as a neurosurgery intern while looking for a neurosurgery residency. He was then accepted into the top-ranked residency program at the University of Tennessee in Memphis, where he trained for 3 more years and served as chief resident. The program was connected to Baptist Hospital in Memphis, which was the largest hospital in the world at the time, with 2,000 beds, and served as the regional trauma center in a 4-state area. After 9 years of medical training, Dr. Moody received many offers from neurosurgery practices, and he decided that he wanted to practice medicine in Texas, and he wanted to help people who were underserved because he knew what it was like to be poor. He chose to practice neurosurgery at Methodist Hospital in poverty-ridden South Dallas, which was an old 420-bed hospital when he arrived. But Dr. Moody felt called to help create an excellent hospital for the people of South Dallas. During his first few years, he was instrumental in creating a Level 2 trauma center and helped launch the Care Flight ambulance service in North Texas, which helped the hospital expand and serve more people. Later, he founded the Moody Brain and Spine Institute, and be sure to see pictures of this at the Methodist Hospital today in the back of your book that you're going to receive at the end of today's program. Dr. Moody attributes his success to God's hand in his life and for the excellent education he received in Mineola schools. A few years ago, he stopped practicing medicine after being treated for pancreatic cancer, but he's exceedingly grateful for being able to help thousands of people during his 40-year career. He and his wife, Patty, have 6 children and 9 grandchildren. They founded and continue to serve in the divorce care ministry in their church. And Dr. Moody loves to talk with students who are considering a healthcare career. And he's joined today by Ms. Kathy Peel. Kathy was the ghostwriter for Dr. Moody's book, and she will be interviewing him today in front of you guys. She's the author of 23 books and more than 100 magazine articles, serving as a contributing editor for Family Circle, AOL, and American Profile. Her articles and interviews have appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, USA Today, U.S. News and World Report, and many local publications. She has been a repeat guest on national news and television programs such as Good Morning America, NBC Today, CNN, and Oprah. And she speaks at conferences, companies, and churches around the world. Dr. Moody, welcome home. Ms. Kathy Peel, thank you for being here. Y'all give them a big video.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Mize. I had the honor of working with Dr. Jim Moody on his book, and at times I felt like I was working with the self-appointed president of the Mineola fan club. He loves this place. And as I listened and wrote his amazing story, I cannot count the times that he talked about his exceptional teachers at Mineola schools and how they influenced his life and prepared him for a career in healthcare and to become a neurosurgeon. Mr. Phillips, I believe, is here today. Is Miss Parrish here? Was she able to come? But is Mr. Phillips here?
Yes, he's back
Okay, well, you can testify to whether things I'm going to say are true. Hello, Mr. Phillips, thank you.
there. Yeah.
But even though Jim had outstanding teachers, he was not exactly an ideal student,
Right.
as you will hear in a minute. Today, as you listen to parts of Jim's story that we're going to tell, we hope that his story will fade into the background as you think about your own story. And we hope that you'll learn some wisdom from his prescriptions for life that he's written. You can take with you when you graduate, Friday after next, right? Then they will help you succeed in whatever you do. Yay! Is that good? Can you hear me now? Okay, so Jim, your first prescription for life is to dream big and work hard. You said that you dreamed about becoming a doctor from an early age, but your parents did not take you seriously. But it was kind of an outlandish dream. After all, your parents didn't attend college, and you said that you cannot remember a time when your family was not poor. And education costs money. You described how you and your parents and your sister Beverly, who's here today, and your half-brother, who was 10 years older, y'all, the 5 of you lived in a 900-square-foot house with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. So Jim, tell us a little about what it was like growing up poor.
Well, we never missed a meal, that's for sure. Our parents worked very hard for what they could get, and Mother fried anything that Dad brought in, which included catfish, crappie, quail, and squirrel. She fixed cornbread every day, and every now and then she would splurge and get some ground beef and to stretch into multiple meals. We had a big garden with lots of vegetables in the back of our yard, and when I turned 6, Mama taught me to tend and harvest the garden. I wore lots of hand-me-down clothes, but one of the most embarrassing aspects of being poor was riding a hand-me-down girl's bike. That was my bike.
Well, that had to be embarrassing.
Thanks to my cousin Sarah. Yeah.
So Jim, you said your dad expected all family members to work and earn money to keep the family afloat. So tell us about some of your jobs.
Okay, when I was 12, I started working at a Texaco service station in Mineola. My brother managed it, and back then people did not pump their own gas. So while I filled tanks, I washed their windshields, checked their oil and tire pressure, and also it was my job to keep the restrooms clean. During the summer, I worked at Bowden's watermelon farm during the harvest. My job was to pick up and pitch melons that weighed 20 to 25 pounds to a guy up in the back of a pickup truck, or sometimes I would be the guy catching the watermelons. After melon season came, hay baling season, so I'd either throw 40-pound bales of hay or catch the bales in the back of the truck. I couldn't afford to pay for movie tickets at the select theater, so I bartered with a manager and I passed out advertising flyers around the town to exchange for movie tickets and candy.
So the bottom line was you were expected to work and pay for the things you wanted. And to reach your dream of becoming a doctor, that was going to take lots of education, which would be expensive. In your junior year, your parents told you that they didn't have the money to send you to college.
Right.
That you would have to pay for every dime on your own, but that probably wasn't a surprise.
No, it wasn't a
Yeah.
surprise, no.
So in May of 1964, and that was 60 years ago, you graduated from Mineola High School. And there were 64 in your graduating class, and many of your classmates, they headed to Baylor. But you had to figure out how to take courses at Tyler Junior College and work every spare minute and save money so that eventually you could get into UT Austin and get on the pre-med track.
Right.
And you said you had no idea how this was going to work out, but you were just hoping and praying to God that He would take care of you because you felt called to become a doctor. So tell us about your first steps after high school graduation.
Well, I drove to Tyler to enroll in Tyler Junior College, which I did, and I had an academic advisor and told her my dreams to become a doctor, but I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it. So she told me if I maintained an A average and applied for various scholarships, that I might get enough money to go to school, which I did. And so at the time I graduated, I didn't owe any money. I'd already used the amount of money that I needed. I'd already used for purposes of finishing school. At the start of each semester, I made sure I understood what it took to make an A in the class, which was so I could study accordingly. I worked every spare minute I wasn't in the class, and I worked at service stations. I pumped gas at Texaco stations in Mineola. I also picked up trash along the highway and under bridges during the summer for the Texas Highway Department. That was a hot, dirty job that paid $1 an hour. So I was committed to working my butt off and going into the pre-med program at UT. I opened an account with the First National Bank in Mineola, deposited all my paychecks, and watched the balance increase a little each week. After 2 years, I was accepted into the pre-med program at UT. I told my parents and thought my parents would be excited, but they just thought I was a dreamer. Mom had always taught me to hope without a plan is just a wish. She would cup her hands and tell me to wish in one hand and spit in the other and see which one filled up first. So I was not just hoping to become a doctor, I had a plan.
So you worked hard and you pursued your dream one semester, 1 year at a time until you finally reached your dream. And that's your first prescription for these graduates. Use the excellent educational foundation that you've received at Mineola schools and dream big and work hard towards your dream. So your second life prescription is don't let setbacks set you back. I mean, all of us know that life is not perfect. And like everyone else, you had a lot of setbacks and a lot of obstacles to overcome on your life journey. Some of the obstacles are just part of living in a fallen world. I mean, hard things happen to all of us. But others, no offense, Jim, but you brought them on yourself. And we're going to talk about a couple of those. Yes, you did.
That's true.
We're going to talk about a couple of those first. One of the setbacks that you brought on yourself had to do with the National Honor Society. Do we have any students here today that have been inducted into the National Honor Society? Anybody?
Good.
Good for it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that is quite an achievement, and it really looks good on your resume, okay, for further studies, for getting jobs. And people expect those who want to be physicians, they expect them to be in the National Honor Society. However, you were not in the National Honor
That's
Society,
right.
Jim.
I was not.
And
Yep.
why was that?
It's called attitude.
Ah,
I was a difficult student, honestly, probably. I would sass my teachers and decided that I was much smarter than they were. So my aunt, who also was a teacher, informed me that she had personally taken my name off the list for National Honor Society because of my attitude, and it was well deserved. I shouldn't be in it at that time, but I got in it later.
well, you sassed your teachers, you said, and you would march up to the desk and tell them they were wrong in their grading, right?
That I would do that. Yep.
And sometimes they were wrong.
Yeah.
Now, we're not saying that about you, Mr. Phillips, over there, but even though they may have made errors in your grading, that did not, make up for your bad attitude. I think you were kind of self-righteous and
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think so.
I think so. Yeah.
maybe even obnoxious. Because, Jim,
Probably so.
what else did you do? There was one more thing you need to tell these people. You need to confess what you did.
What did I do? I forgot.
Well, it had to do with a desk.
With a what?
A desk.
A desk. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you tried to forget it.
I threw one of the desks in my aunt was a English teacher and Spanish teacher, and she was out of the room, and so I took one of the desks and threw it out the front, out the window into the front
the
lawn of
window.
the high school.
The window. Now, and we're
Yeah.
talking about, back in the day, these were probably
One piece heavy desk.
heavy
Yeah,
wooden desk.
but I got it out.
You got it out of the window.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was the other thing that kept you out. That was kind of an attitude problem,
Yeah,
I would say.
that was an
right?
attitude, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that, well, let me just ask you that. How did that attitude problem work out for you?
Not well.
Okay. Well, kept you out of the National Honor Society. And then one more thing kept you, it was a kind of a ding on your resume, and that had to do with physics, okay?
Yeah.
So tell us about what happened there.
Well, the physics issue came around about the second week into my senior year. I was practicing football, and I used my arm to break a fall and dislocated my right shoulder. And if anybody's ever seen me left-handed, that's not good. You can't read it. So anyway, when the doctor saw how much the bone had protruded, he asked if I were still wearing my shoulder pads. I said, no, I don't think so. That's an attempt on his part to be humorous, but it didn't work. He moved the bone back into the socket and fit me in a shoulder splint and an arm sling, and this prevented me from writing with my right hand, which was a problem. My physics teacher, Mr. Evans, scheduled a quiz for that week. When I asked if I could postpone it, he said, absolutely not, write with your left hand. And I don't know how many of you can write with your opposite hand, but mine was not good. Since physics required math to solve problems, I decided that trying to use my left hand was unrealistic. So I dropped the course, which put another ding on my resume, since physics is expected of anyone hoping to become a doctor. I ended up taking physics in college, but there's more to the story. Mr. Evans' daughter was a classmate of mine, and 4 years later, she contacted me to convey the message that her dad wanted to see me. So I went to see him. He was 91 at this time. He lives in a nursing home.
Here in Mineola?
In Mineola, yeah. And when I visited, he apologized for his decision about the quiz, I forgave him and felt terrible that the dear man had carried this guilt for so long.
It is a long time to carry guilt.
Yeah, it is.
It is. So Jim tells about a lot more setbacks and difficulties in his book, but I just want to mention one more right now, and it happened during your residency in Memphis. And let me just quickly explain that, Jim became a neurosurgeon. It takes a lot of schooling to become a neurosurgeon because they work not only on the brain, any kind of brain injury or seizures or strokes, but also on the spinal column. And so it's the top of the pecking list, really, when it comes to
Yes.
physicians.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
think so.
hardest, and
Yeah.
he studied a long time. But let me just, I want to make sure people understand this, because I didn't for a long time, that after aspiring physicians finish medical school and they do their internship and they're in a residency program, and they are officially doctors by then, okay? But they still have to do their residency, and they wear scrubs, and they look very official, and they work 16 hours a day, and they make very little money. Very little.
I'll stress that, very little.
Very little
Yeah.
money, and right. And you were a resident, and you had 4 children at the time.
I did.
Only
Yeah.
1 car, and a physician who became your mentor loaned you an old car, and that was really sweet. But I think I remember you said that maybe the doors didn't open or the windows didn't roll
yeah,
down.
there were some problems with it. The windows wouldn't go down and
But at
and
least-
the doors wouldn't open.
Yeah.
But it ran,
Yeah, it
so once
you-
I got
you
in
to
the
work and back, that's what counted, and it blessed you. But there was a time when you had a problem with that car. Tell us about that.
Well, late one night, I was dead tired. I was ready to get home, and my car would not start. I finally realized that someone had stolen the battery. So I had to buy and install a new battery, which the expense of that was quite a lot for me at the time. It was unpleasant, but I was short on time and money, and so I did that. A few nights later, the new battery disappeared, so I had to buy and install another one. A few nights later, the third one disappeared. So I said a few words, other than those that I can say today, and some drastic problems. Sometimes drastic problems require drastic solutions. So I decided this was such a time. So I bought a 4th battery and a 10-foot chain and padlocked. And I drilled a hole through the hood of the car, ran the chain up through there, and solved my problems because no one could get through that padlock at this point and steal my 4th battery. So anyway.
So you solved the problem, and I encourage all of you all to read his book. It's an easy read.
Yeah, it is.
It's short, but you'll be inspired by the obstacles that he had to overcome, and you'll laugh at some of the crazy things he experienced. And we don't have time today, but I don't want you to miss the part in the book about Elvis during Jim's residency in Memphis, because at Baptist Hospital, neurosurgery was on the 18th floor of this huge hospital. They were on one wing, and Elvis had the
Elvis
whole
has the other wing.
other wing, right?
Yep.
And everybody always knew when Elvis was in the building. And there were stories, and some of them we had to cut because they weren't quite proper, but we left a few in there.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, so we need to move on to your 3rd prescription for life is gain wisdom and continue learning. So Jim, all of these graduates right here, they've gained a lot of knowledge, and they're getting ready to gain a lot more knowledge and hone their skills for their chosen careers. But you stress the importance of gaining wisdom,
Right.
which is skill in the art of daily living and learning to make good decisions. You tell stories in the book about really smart people who ended up in the emergency room at best or dead at worst because they made stupid
choices.
choices.
Yep.
They didn't have wisdom. So what kind of advice would you like to give the graduates about avoiding foolish, stupid choices that can kill them or leave them paralyzed?
Right. Well, in Texas, it gets warm during the spring, and so many people decide it's time to go enjoy the lakes. Unfortunately, without checking the depth or whatever, they will dive into lakes, and they didn't know that the water was not very deep, and so never do that. Do not dive before you've checked the depth of the water, because you could end up getting paralyzed for that. Don't drive if you've been drinking. I think that's pretty obvious to everybody, but sometimes people don't pay attention to what they're doing, and so I wouldn't ride in a car with someone who's drinking, and I wouldn't drink and drive. I've worked on thousands of patients. I've never met a person who said that they woke up one morning and said, I think I'll get drunk today and go do drugs, and then I'll drive and see what happens. No, people don't think like that. They make stupid decisions after doing stupid things, and you can't fix stupid. It's just all there is to it. I would suggest that you stay away from motorcycles, because I call them murder cycles and suicidals, because they do provide a lot of situations in which you could be killed or be maimed very badly. And so we lost people in crashes all the time in Memphis because of the motorcycles. If you play golf, you want to be very careful about teeing off. I operated on numerous golfers who got too close to the person who was teeing off, and they ended up with skull fractures and blood clots, because the temporal area on the skull is the most susceptible area, and it's thin and it's easily broken, and in the middle of it is a big artery, the meningeal artery, and that's what causes blood clots. So if you got hit in the temporal area, it could be very, very deadly with time.
So the bottom line for all of us here, is to keep on learning, no matter how old we are, and keep honing our skills, but we also need to gain wisdom, which is the topic of one of your favorite Bible verses, right?
Right. Yeah, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says that trust in the Lord with all your heart, do not lean on your own understanding. In all ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight.
Good advice. Okay, your fourth prescription for life is to value every person. You chose, Jim, you had a lot of offers, because he's really smart, as you can probably tell. You had a lot of offers to practice in fancy, go to fancy places and really nice hospitals, but you chose to practice medicine at Methodist Hospital in South Dallas, which was one of the poorest zip code areas in the country. Why did you want to practice medicine there?
Because I thought that the people there identified with me better. I had come up through the ranks without very much money whatsoever, and I just met these people, fell in love with them essentially, and thought that the best place to do what I wanted to do would be to practice in South Dallas. So that's what I did.
Yeah, you were saying, when he arrived, Methodist Hospital was like this 3-story old building. Mm-hmm. And if you lived in South Dallas and you needed to go to a trauma unit, you had to go all the way across the Trinity River to Parkland. And so, Jim, and when you got to Dallas after your residency, you said you couldn't even believe that Dallas did not have a care flight service or an air ambulance service.
Right.
And so the first few years he was practicing, he worked so hard to get the care flight service for Dallas area and East and North Texas. And so every time you see one of those medical helicopters fly over, it's because of him.
Orange and white.
Or are they orange and white?
I think so, yeah.
And then he also helped start the trauma center at Oak Cliff. And I really do encourage you to look at the photos in the back of the book, because you'll see Methodist the way it was when he arrived, and it is a world-class hospital now. And it's really because he worked on this so hard, but it wasn't easy. But, when you started, when people in South Dallas realized that, oh, we have a great hospital to go to now, all kinds of people started showing up. So tell us about some of those experiences.
Well, one day we had 22 gunshot wounds in the same day. And they weren't all to the head, but they were to various parts of the body. And sometimes cars would pull up to the emergency room, dump a bleeding or unconscious person on the sidewalk outside the ER, and drive off.
Just leave them there.
Just leave them there. Yep.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So how did you decide who to treat first?
Okay. Well, we did not consider race, creed, color, demographics. We calculated those people that needed to be seen first and foremost, and we gave each person dignity and every ounce of skill and wisdom that we could bring to bear. Homeless men with grass growing between their toes and guys who kept chicken legs in their armpits, or women who kept similar objects like that, like chicken legs or half a chicken or whatever, under big breasts, would come and see us. And they would also have candy bars, remote controls, and other hidden objects under their breasts. But I realized that those women were made in the image of God, just like women who designer jewels had to be cut off so we could perform life-saving procedures. I had more than one woman fuss at me big time because I had to do an operation that was necessary to save her life, and I had to remove some of her jewelry, and she was not a happy camper. My job was not to judge or criticize patients or lecture them for reaping what they sowed. They needed a physician to come alongside them, look into their eyes, and show them compassion by listening and caring about them. Every one of you can make the world a better place, no matter what your occupation, by treating every person with respect and dignity that they deserve, because they all bear the image of God.
We're all made in the image of God. Yeah. So I encourage all of y'all, again, to check out the pictures in the back of the book, and because it is truly amazing what this man accomplished. Jim, your fifth prescription for life is to trust in God and His promises. What do you want graduates to know?
Well, a lot of people try to do life without God's help. And I would tell you, no way. Just do not do that. You always have to have God on your side. I was blessed to grow up in the First Baptist Church in Mineola, and I attended that every Sunday. And all the Bible verses that I learned about God's love and forgiveness and His good purpose for my life, I found to be true. Another one of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, for good, to give you a future and a hope. My hope and prayer for all of you graduates is that you'll trust in God's love and good purposes for your life. And as you leave Mineola High School, which incidentally, you've gotten an excellent education here. I'm convinced that it's still as good as it was when I was here. You'll commit yourselves not only to gaining more knowledge, but gain wisdom as well as you work hard to achieve your dreams.
Thank you, Jim. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And let's give these people a hand. They've graduated.
Yeah,
today.
right. Yeah, good. We'll try to answer any questions if you have questions.
Yes.
That somebody might have. I don't know whether they do or not, but.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
How do you-
How did you get in National Honor Society? Because the first time you couldn't get in, so how did you?
He never got in.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did. I'm sorry.
My senior year, I did.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I cleaned my act up is what I did.
My bad. He did. He had cleaned his, I think it was the desk thrown out the window that really nixed you.
Yeah, it did.
Junior
didn't-
year.
It didn't give me any positive feedback.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. Yes, sir.
Who was the most influential teacher you had, and who was it?
Oh, wow. The most influential.
Most
teacher.
influential. Well, since I'm in sciences, probably my science teachers. Mr. Evans and his daughter was in my class, and also the math teachers. Those were the
Mr. Phillips
good-
was math, right?
Mr. Phillips. Yeah,
Were
he
you
is.
math?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What's that? Oh, Coach Lyles? Yeah, Charlie Lyles. Yeah. He was a tremendous influence to me. I don't know if any of you got to experience life with Charlie Lyles, but he was a fireball. I mean, and when he came to Mineola, he changed the entire athletic program around, and he taught each one of us that we were important people, that we had something to contribute to the program, and to just work hard and go after it. So we did that, and we improved the situation.
Yes, that's a great question. I know you still have wonderful teachers here. What else would you like to know? Yes, sir.
When did you think about chicken wings?
What do you
Well-
mean by chicken? This is
I mean, literally that. They would have fried the chicken at home, and to keep them warm, they put it under their breasts. So I'm not kidding you. They did.
But then they would get in a wreck or get shot and end up in the emergency room. And so the physicians would end up taking the objects out that they were hiding. So I think you said you found a remote control one time
Right, I did.
and candy bars.
Yeah. There's a lot you can hide under a big breast. There's no question about that.
I don't think he wants that to be the main lesson you go away with today. But,
No.
but it is interesting, the kind of things, that you see in the emergency room.
Oh yeah.
And I don't remember the case, Jim. I mean, I learned a lot of his cases, but it was such a privilege to write his book. But one person was in such bad shape, and you couldn't get the automatic door. You know those automatic
Oh
doors?
yeah. That's right.
I mean-
couldn't get the door. It was an automatic door, but it wouldn't work. And I literally pulled that thing completely off of its hinges. I mean, and it was so funny to see the work crew come by the next day and say, "What the hell happened here?" But I did. I pulled pull the door off.
He did what it took to save
right.
lives and to help people. That's for
right.
sure.
Yep.
What else? Yes, sir.
Your parents' reaction to you fully graduating from your profession?
What was your parents' reaction to you fully graduating and becoming a doctor?
It was excellent. They didn't understand at all. They were worried more about finances than anything else. And I was so stupid, I wasn't worried about finances. But the reason is that I got a lot of scholarships for my grades, and I felt it very necessary to keep my grades high. And so some semesters I didn't pay a penny. I just got it all through scholarships.
And you didn't eat very much. But I know that you told me your parents, like, they were very excited when he graduated from University of Texas with honors. But it was like, Jim, you've got a college degree. You could go get a job.
Yeah, that's right.
But he wanted to go to medical school. Then they
had-
came to your medical school graduation, and they said, okay, you've got a medical degree. You could just go hang up your shingle and
Right.
practice medicine.
Well, I
Isn't
had
good?
multiple people call me and say, you could do general practice and make a lot of money very early on, and I know you don't have any money. I said, okay, fine. But that wasn't my interest. It really was not. I wanted to be an impact in people's lives, and I wanted to do something that was very important. And so I operated, if you know, and you don't, but it was Dallas, wasn't it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Dallas, at that time at least, South Dallas was very, very poor. And they would frequently, accidents would happen and they would drive right by Methodist Hospital, which is in South Dallas, and on to Parkland. And I just thought that was ridiculous that they did that. So we made some changes and got CareFlight. We brought CareFlight into existence. Mm-hmm. And so we started improving the situation. First of all, people got treatment faster, and then they got treatment where they would not have been treated equally, and so we treated everybody equally. We really did, and
Something I can brag on him about, and it's something for all of us to remember, is whatever we're doing, whatever our career or occupation, to keep learning. And Jim, I can remember, because he's operated on one of my sons, and he would gather around after every surgery, not just my son, but all the thousands of people. You would gather the team and say, what can we learn? What can we do better next time?
Yeah, sure would.
And all of us can do that, no matter what your occupation.
We constantly were evaluating how well we delivered care and whether we were doing it properly and doing it to the best of our ability, and doing the main thing is doing the best thing for that patient at that time. And we constantly kept evaluating that.
Yes.
The students behind me want to know, what is a lesson that non-academics that you learned in high school that you have taken from all these years?
Hard work. I mean, my answer is that you just decide what you want to do, and then you go for it. You don't listen to the naysayers. You just charge through, take care of your own business, and move on and learn and educate yourself.
And that takes choices every day about how you're going to
Absolutely.
spend your time.
Sure does.
Yeah. Yes. Have you worked at different hospitals? Well, yes.
Yes, yes. I've worked at Presbyterian. I worked at Baylor for a while.
Medical City.
St. Paul, Medical City. Yeah, so I've been in all the hospitals in Dallas for extended periods of time.
Over here. What's a major setback that you had that was really hard to come back from?
That was hard to come back from. A major setback. Well, and this is in the book. You'll read the story in the book. Okay? This man.
What are you
is
talking
awesome.
about?
I'm talking about that you had a difficult situation at home.
I did. I did.
And he didn't have anybody encouraging him.
Yeah.
And even though you didn't believe in divorce, but it
yeah.
got to the point where that had to happen. That happens
Yeah.
to some people. And he and his lovely wife, Patty, they have started the divorce care ministry.
In Dallas. Yeah.
After the very hard situation, God brought Patty into Jim's life and him into her life. And so God redeems hard situations. But
Yeah.
that was very hard
Yeah.
for Jim.
It's a tough life being married to a physician, and especially a surgeon, because you're gone so much, and you're gone at night so much, and so you just have to give them a little bit of grace and extra space to because you know what I know what they're living through, and it was not easy to do that.
I can tell you another setback because they were building this trauma center at the Methodist Hospital, and in the early 1990s, they were going to shut you down because you couldn't get enough. I mean,
Right.
you got to have, it was 4 neurosurgeons who were willing to come in to have a trauma center.
Yeah.
The neurosurgeons didn't want to go to South Dallas because they couldn't make as much money. Okay, because a lot of people couldn't pay, but that didn't matter to Jim. So he had a hard time recruiting other neurosurgeons, and he was working on call all the time.
I was on call all the time
What's-
for about two years before I could recruit enough people to come and work with me, and those people that came stayed. They saw what a wonderful place this is to practice, what a great practice you have. You get to do more cases at Methodist than you got to do at Presbyterian, Baylor, or any of the others, because there wasn't as much competition there. So now, when I left Methodist, remember, I was the solo guy who started that neurosurgical practice. I left them with 5 guys, all of them in really good shape, all of them well-trained, and they're still well-trained and still do a great job now.
They do. So when you go to Methodist, you'll see the Moody Brain and Spine Institute. And you know this man. He would love to meet every one of you today. Do we have time for one more question?
What?
Oh, they
yeah.
still,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Methodist is known for their,
Yeah, how much,
what- you know the number. How
you
much
know the
indigent
number,
care-
Patty.
Is it 182 million?
And
Yes.
let's explain indigent care.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
people who can't pay.
Yeah, so that's people who show up in the emergency room. They're going to be taken care of.
Right. They may
You
not
don't
have
to worry about
insurance.
that. They're
Yeah.
going to be taken care of. I don't care whether they have insurance or not. It doesn't make any difference. And I'm going to do the most complicated case that I can do on them, knowing that they don't have any insurance and they can't pay for it. That's fine. I don't care. We can get by without that. But
And sadly, some of the hospitals in Dallas, we won't mention the names of them, but what they would do once Methodist got their trauma center up, is somebody who couldn't pay would go to one of the nicer hospitals in Dallas, and it was called patient dumping. They would send all the people who couldn't pay to Methodist.
To send them to Methodist, and of course I knew those people that were referring them because they were neurosurgeons like me, and I knew who they were, but they didn't care. They just dumped them on us, and we never turned anybody down. We just wouldn't.
And the hospital is still like that today.
It is. Yeah, it's an
wonderful-
excellent hospital. Methodist is an excellent hospital, provides a tremendous amount of indigent care, indigent meaning they can't pay for it, and it's just a good place to go.
If any of you all are thinking about going into any kind of a health care career and you have questions, after he's going to be here, and he loves to talk to people about going into healthcare if you have questions.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you. You've been a very excellent audience.
You all have been a
Appreciate
great
it.
audience.
Yep.
Thank you.
Dr. Moody, we have a little special surprise for you today, and I'm going to invite Mayor James Langston, Mineola High School graduate, to come up here and present a special honor for you today, Thursday, May the 16th, 2024. Mayor Langston, come up here. Y'all give Mayor Langston a big hand.
Can you guys hear me without the microphone? That was my trouble in high school too. Teachers heard me all the time. And I sat up by their desk all year long. But listen, Mineola is such a special place. And this school is special. Guys, 60 years from now, I hope you're standing here honoring one of your classmates like this because of their awesome achievements. I want to say Mineola loves their own, and he's never forgotten about his roots here. And that means something, guys. That means something. And thank you, Cody Mize, for letting the city horn in on this assembly, and Brenda Zitter for letting me know this was occurring and about his book. So from the city of Mineola and all the citizens of Mineola, whereas Jimmy Moody, a native of Mineola, attended Mineola Public Schools and graduated with honors from Mineola High School in 1964. And whereas Jim Moody continued his education at Tyler Junior College and then at the University of Texas at Austin, upon completing his studies in 1968, he was accepted into medical school at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, graduating in 1972. And whereas Dr. James A. Moody began his neurosurgery residency in 1974. After 3 years, he joined the staff at Methodist Hospital in Dallas. And whereas Dr. James A. Moody founded and established the neurology department at Methodist Hospital, transforming the then small community hospital into a regional trauma center. And whereas Dr. James Moody envisioned and was instrumental in establishing the first air ambulance service in North Dallas. And whereas Dr. James Moody has been honored with the creation of the Methodist Moody Brain and Spine Institute. And whereas, despite his numerous accomplishments, Jimmy Moody has never forgotten his hometown and school. We honor him today for his outstanding achievements. Now, therefore, the city of Mineola and its proud citizens proclaim the 16th day of May, 2024 is Dr. Jim Moody Day, in the city of Mineola, Wood County, Texas, and express our deepest gratitude and respect for our own native son. Proclaim the 16th day of May, 2024.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was really perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, they were. Yes. Thank you, everybody.